Now, let's bring on Ethan Avery now. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Toby. I'm glad to be here. I just appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've got a new book out today called Sword and Sorcery.
Yep.
Now, it's quite intriguing because it kind of hooks you in with this statement. If you could change your life by trusting a stranger, would you? Tell me more.
Yeah, so it's a young adult fantasy book for teens, and
Mm,
it kind of has a feel of fantasy, but also kind of trends away from that in a few ways. It kind
yeah.
of looks at how life is for people of different kind of social classes, and
Mm,
basically where you grow up and how that can maybe change your perspective on life. And so it's a dual perspective book, fantasy book, and it follows two different young protagonists, one being wealthier, one being poorer,
yeah.
from different countries, and kind of seeing how they see the world through their eyes based on how they grew up.
Absolutely. And where did the idea for the book come from?
Oh boy, that's a great question. Probably just like my own personal love of fantasy,
Yeah.
kind of growing up, and then just also being influenced. Being around a lot of different people. I've lived in
Yeah.
a lot of different places, and talked to a lot of different people. So just kind of feeling
Mm,
just the way that we're all very different, but also very much the same in a lot of
yeah.
respects. And so just kind of seeing that and wanting to put it onto the page so other people can experience it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And who would you say the book is for? Because fantasy can be for all sorts of people, can't it? It can be for children or it could be for adults because fantasy's always fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. So like it has its like light moments, like
Yeah.
light and funny moments that like you can enjoy, even if you're like a middle schooler or something,
Mm,
you could read it. Because like the text itself isn't extremely difficult, extremely hard to read, a bunch of like, highly advanced words or anything.
yeah.
But it's also got, things like social class, as I mentioned, it's got some
Mm,
politics in it, and things that you're probably not gonna get until
mm,
you are older. So it's
mm.
very much something adults can read as well, and they can take things from it. So the quote
Yeah.
unquote kind of target age is teenagers,
Mm.
but I think everybody can definitely read it.
Yeah, and would you say it's maybe quite important to read it at a young age because it could
Mm.
teach you lessons?
Absolutely, yeah. Because like, a lot of stuff made for children is kind of just there to entertain them for a while so that,
Yeah.
adults don't have to deal with them. But I think it definitely has that sort of thing where maybe you read it as a kid and then maybe
Mm,
years down the line you read it again and you're like, oh wow, I didn't notice that part the
yeah.
first time I read it. And now, things are starting to make sense as you get older, you get into your career,
Mm.
you get different relationships and stuff.
Yeah, and I always like to talk about the covers of books, and your one is particularly impressive because you
Thank
can tell
you.
right away it's a fantasy book. What is that? Is that people in some sort of mirror, and then it's got blue on one side and red in the other? Maybe that's some sort of war.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually glad a lot of that stuff came through. So yeah, the story revolves around these four young characters,
Mm,
and the mirror is very central. I
yeah,
won't give away any spoilers, but the mirror is very central to the book's story, and
mm.
there is a hint of some international conflict going on as well.
Oh, interesting. And international conflict is, of course, particularly important at the moment. I take it this book was written before everything that's going on in Ukraine, but then again, there's
Yeah.
always conflict going on in the world, isn't there?
True, 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 true. Yeah, I kind of started like really writing this book when the pandemic hit because
Mm,
there was just a lot more time on my hands as a writer, and so I got to really finish the novel the way that I wanted to. And like you said, it's
mm.
always conflict, so I think
Yeah.
that it has a sense that it's not really gonna go out of style. This book,
Mm.
it's not gonna be kind of a book that you read and then it's not relevant,
Yeah.
in 3 months or 6 months, but you'll be able to kind of find some of the lessons from it and some of the things you can learn from it for years to come.
Yeah. And is this book going to be part of a series? Because I noticed that one of the reviewers said that it's a superb start to a series. So was it correct?
Yes, very correct.
Mm.
This is the first book in the Sword and Sorcery series. This is
Mm.
Frostfire, and so
Yeah.
book two will be coming out in the future. I'm looking forward to it. I've begun
Good.
doing a little bit of writing on it, and
Yeah.
it's going well. So we'll see. Maybe next year, sometime the next book will release.
Yeah, because I guess if you started this book at the start of the pandemic, which was over 2 years ago now, is the second book going to take you as long, or do you not really know?
I hope not. We'll see. It always helps in fantasy once you get the first one down, because it's so much kind of just new things. There's magic that you have to figure out. There's countries. There's all these names you have to figure out. And now that I think I have that down south, I think it'll be easier to kind of continue the story on and write some more. So hopefully it doesn't take as long. But we'll see.
Yeah. Can it sometimes still be hard though when you're doing a sequel to, I suppose, keep it fresh and come up with new ideas with characters that you've already done stories on?
Absolutely, I think so. And I think that one of the big things is making sure that your characters still have room for growth, still have room for development, still have ability to change. I think that's one thing. You kind of write one story and maybe the characters start one way and they learn a lesson or they change in some way through the first story, and then it's like, well, what are you going to do in the next story? They've already learned one lesson, so what's the next thing that they're going to learn? And so I think that that really is kind of our challenge as writers when we continue on with characters and continue on with stories or series, is making sure that there's still some ability to grow or change when we're writing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where can we find the book Sword and Sorcery Frostfire everywhere?
Yes, it should be everywhere. So the book is it's currently exclusive to Amazon for the ebook version, but for physical copies you can buy it pretty much anywhere books are sold. You can buy it online, or you can go into your local bookstore, and if they don't have it on the shelves, just talk to the people there and they will be able to special order it for you, no problem.
Smashing. Well, many thanks for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you soon when the next book comes out.
Thank you, Toby. It's been a pleasure.